Good morning, friends. Today I am going to be painting this fun little piece. Sometimes it's just fun to get some brush strokes on paper, create kind of fill your whole page and just have fun with it. So I'm going to be using, today I just happened to grab my cold press. Any 140-pound cold press paper is fine. This is the MEEDEN. I like it because it's on a block, but absolutely beginners, you know I love these Artistos, so if you have that, use that. Great texture, they're reasonable, I love them. So you can use, you know, whatever 140-pound cold press paper you have. I will be using my Lang palette, and I'm going to be using a lot of these warm browns, fall colors for some of those nice orangey red colors that I got. I'm using the yellow sienna and some of these little reds in here I'm mixing together. So, you know, use what you have, but let's go ahead and get started, and we'll just spray our paints here and let's get started. So my color palette is going to be so funny. I am going to do this type of pattern. I cut these up the other day, actually in a video, because I make tags out of them, but this is the pattern, and I just really want to play and fill my whole page. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Because I'm on a little bigger sheet than my Artisto pads, this is 10 by 7, I'm probably going to use a lot of my larger brush. This is my 16 round. And the color palette I want to use are these beautiful fall colors, which were made up. I kind of mixed them with a little bit of red in there. And this is the sienna, yellow sienna. And then this right here, I had some of the red here from my palette. Yeah, that's the red. So if you have the My Lang palette, it's right next to your rose pink. And then I mixed a little bit of that with some of the brown. There's some of that darker brown for some of the dark areas I added at the end. But we're going to start with a light wash. And then my go-to green is always, make sure you have your wash and rinse water, by the way. My go-to green is just always seems to be kind of a mix of sap green and olive green. I even like the My Lang yellow green. So I'm just going to get that wet here in my palette. It's already in there. And another reason why I don't always wash my palettes, because I like to just use a lot of the same color palettes. So there we go. I could just give this whole thing a spritz with my water, but I'm just going to use those few colors there. Okay, so I think I have those. Just move that over to the side here. Make sure you can see my palette. All right, so let's get started. You could actually also use the cat's tongue, which let's play with that actually for a little bit. So I'm just going to set my large round to the side here, and let's grab that cat's tongue because I think that is actually what I used on these. And it makes some really great flower shapes. And then also using the side of it, some great leaves. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to start with, like I said, that light, very light wash, meaning it's probably 80% water, 20% pigment, and kind of a washy, you know, not washy, a wet, pretty wet brush. So grabbing some water, tapping it off a bit, and then let's just go ahead and get in here and start. I'll first use my brush flat like this because it's almost in the shape of a petal, similar to that filbert, going very light wash, and then just start using the side of my brush, maybe tapping in with some of the darker color. So applying more pressure here and there just to get a little wider feel. Some more of that, maybe right here, more like a bud. And then right here. So I'm starting with these, and then I'll go in and add in some green. We could even stop right there, wash, rinse my brush, tap it off and grab some of that green that I love and start going in, adding some fun little leaves. So see here, I'm using the side of my brush for some of those little leaves there. Picking it up and just dabbing here and there. But what I want to do before this dries is go in with a little darker brown and tap in a little bit. Look at that beautiful fall color. Isn't that fun? I could even go in there with some red, some of that reddish color, which I think is gorgeous for fall. Now it's starting to dry a little bit, so I'm just tapping in with that red. Isn't that pretty? Now I've got a bit of a bloom here, and if I don't like that, I can just wipe it up with a damp brush, but I really don't mind those blooms. And then I'm gonna go in here to those leaves and add in just a touch of the brown from my flower. Or maybe even some of the dark green I've got here is pretty too. There we go. Get a little darker value. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Adding in that darker value. Just turning and playing with my brush. We could even go in some of those with some gold, but let's continue here. I just tapped in with that with a damp brush. There we go. Okay, let's do some more. Again, just tapping in sideways, side to side, and I'm angling my brushes in my brush in different ways so that I can get some kind of directions for our eye. So here our eye comes in here, it's going in here, it's zigzagging across my page. Just let your brush kind of dance around. Some face-on flowers here. Let me get a little bit more water. Just love this cat's tongue brush so much. And here I'm just even adding in some very light. I just added water to my brush. And now before all those dry, and I don't even need to wash all of that color out of my brush because I don't mind that blending with my green a little bit. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more green to my palette. Some of that sap green, because that's my go-to green. There we go. And just start adding in some leaves here. Kind of the same brush strokes as the flowers. Very similar. Pick up some more of that. I'm just really playing, and this is such a great practice if you're trying to learn to go more loose. This is great for you. Rinsing my brush and adding some more in here so that we've got some interest and depth, because those light areas are going to fade back. Now, before this dries too much, it might have already dried too much, I'll go in and add some of those really pretty, rich fall type colors in here. Let them blend around. Like that. Some of that red, some of that brown. Not too much, but I want to pull my eye around. And then I think what I'll do, wash, rinse my brush, use the tip of my brush and go into, let's grab this really dark brown, Van Dyke brown basically. That's pretty dark. I might even add in a tiny bit of Payne's Gray or even black. And I want to go in and just tap in. I think what I'll actually do is use my little 8 round. Feel more comfortable with that one. There we go. And just tap in there. I just love how it adds that tiny bit of detail. Really makes it so interesting. Just inside these. A little bit more black there. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Now, if you do not like kind of some of that blooms, you can always go in just with a damp brush and soften that edge. Make sure you keep rinsing your brush. I don't mind that in my flowers because I think it's very organic. So that doesn't bother me, but you can go in with just a damp brush and lift, kind of create some light spots, which can be interesting. And then now that this is dry, I'm gonna go back in just a minute and add in some more hard lines and darker values. But right now I just wanna keep playing. Let's maybe do some little buds here. Lots of dabs, making them kind of thin. And then we'll go in and create some. This is that dark brown. Look how pretty that is. And then I'll go in and add some of the green. Ooh, I love that one. There we go. Now I'm using a very limited palette here. I'm only using maybe 3-4 colors. So that's something I like to play with a lot too, is using that limited palette, because then it kind of forces me to play with values. There we go. Look at that blend. Oh, I just love that. So this is something I just practice with in the evening, just filling a page with florals, I think is so fun. We could actually even, maybe we could go in with some of more of that red. And I'm gonna add in maybe some little berries. So let me pick up my 8 round again. Even a filbert would be great right here, because a filbert is shaped like a little bud or a little flower. So let's grab that. And add some little berries here and there. I feel like I need green over there. Just shapes, and I kind of play and just let my eye kind of tell me where I might need some more color. And then before that dries too much, I want to go in and add in some green. Ooh, look at that. So this is all about playing, because when you're playing like this, you're going to have little uh-ohs and maybe some things that you're like, oh wow, I really like those colors together, or I really like how that just did that. And I think that's important for me to see that. Look how pretty the little red ones are in there. I like that. What I'll do now is go into some of these flowers and just add a little darker shade of these browns. Now I'm using this red, and I'll list the colors below, but I am adding some brown to tone down the pop of that red. So just using these swipes. Just to add a little detail here and there. And you know, sometimes you may overwork a little, and that's okay, because then you learn, like, where's your stopping point? But that's how you learn. You learn by playing, and that's what I, you know, love to see students do, is just play with some things. See what happens. And then add in a few more green down here, and we're just about done. So using the side of my brush. Some more sap green and olive green, tapping my brush off. Get it a little bit wetter. And there you go. I mean, I think I'm basically done. This was really fun. Maybe another flower right here. I love these colors. I think they're so pretty. These yellow siennas. It kind of reminds me, it just reminds me so much of fall. All right, there you go. Just softening out those lines. See these blooms? You can always soften them out. Maybe just a couple more of the little black dots in the center. Not gonna go into that one because it's wet, but maybe that one I've got. There you go. All right, everybody, you could even go in here now at this point, which is probably what I'll do once I turn the camera off, is I will go in and maybe add a little bit of those, the gold series, I think would be really pretty in here as well. So, you know, if this is enough, stop for you, but I think once I turn the camera off here, I will probably do that because I love adding this gold into everything that I paint, especially for the holidays. All right, everybody, have fun. I hope this was fun for you. Grab a piece of paper in the evenings, just paint, just put flowers on, turn your brush, have a good time, and happy painting. Thanks so much for being a part of my community here, and I will see you soon.